So condoms, we're told, are the way you practice safe sex in this world. Yeah? Like, you don't have to worry about the chart as long as you put on the latex, or he puts on the latex, or whatever, right? Because we're told that, hey, yes, there is risk, but you actually can get rid of that risk. You can minimize it as long as you use this, and then you can enjoy sex without consequences. Now, if you were to use a condom every single time, the right way, which means you've kept it in the correct temperature zone. So if you live in the valley, you can't keep it in your glove compartment box where it gets to 113 degrees in your car. You have used it by the expiration date. You can't have held on to that thing for 7 years and be like, I've been waiting for you. No, chuck the condom, keep waiting, okay? You have to put it on the right way. You can't put it on and then be like, oh, inside out, my bad. What did you just do? You now have a spear of infection coming at you, okay? Great. So all of these things have to be done correctly every time, and in the case of HIV, it means that you're going to have about 85% rate of protection. That means 1 out of 6 times you're at risk. But 85% of the time you're covered, as long as you do everything every time that you were supposed to do. Good odds? This is not a correct, like yes, no, or Jesus. What do you think? Good odds, bad odds? I had a kid once tell me, he goes, hey, if I took those odds to Vegas, that would be awesome. I said, well, okay. So let's pretend you go to Vegas and play Russian roulette. Do you know what Russian roulette is? Russian roulette, for those of you not aware, is where you have a gun, a real gun, and you put 1 bullet in the chamber and you spin it. We'll pretend it's that kind of gun, okay? So out of 6 possible shots, 1 of them is a real bullet. And you sit with 5 of your friends, and you each take aim at your head. And your friend blows his head off. Do you go, yes, 85%? Did you just say yes? Don't be friends with him. Because the reality is you're playing with a virus that will kill you. And if you have another infection, if you already have chlamydia, gonorrhea, genital herpes, HPV, when you encounter HIV, you are 2 to 5 times more likely to get HIV, right? Now, for everything else, for all the rest of those infections, the rate drops to about 50%. Why so low? If you do it the right way every single time, why so low? I see shifting in the seats. Okay. Condoms. They don't cover that much. No offense, gentlemen, they cover a lot. But they don't cover that much. Okay? Because is there still exposed skin? Guys, do you get to bust out latex boxer briefs? No, you don't. Right? You got nothing covering those testicles, nothing covering your thighs. And if general skin-to-skin contact puts you at risk, do you think it still puts you at risk even when you're having sex? So the reason a condom is about 50%, it varies from 60 to 40 depending on which infection we're talking about. 50% every single time that you use it correctly is because you still have exposed skin. Right? So even though you're doing everything the world says to do in order for safe, to be protected, half the time you're exposed. Would any of us get in a car that only works 50% of the time? It's like a terrible idea. It's a death trap on wheels, right? Yes, let's go down the 405 at 80 miles an hour and maybe it will get all the way down there. That stops all of a sudden, you're in trouble, right? And yet we're told that that's the best we can expect for our bodies. And it always amazes me how hard teenagers will try to get that 50% and put all that energy in to hopefully get 50%, but they won't put all that energy in to getting 100%, which means you don't have sex. Okay? Everyone's favorite topic. They're like, ugh, here we go. I used to work in film and production, and I quit that to do this because I think you deserve to know that 50% is not good enough. I don't think so. I personally think you deserve 100%, but 100% is hard. 100% is going to take work on your part. It is not easy. As somebody who practiced abstinence for 25 years, I can tell you it's not easy. Right? Doesn't mean you just like shut down your sex drive and you're like, this is great, we'll flip it back on when we're ready. No, it's still there. Right? You might not get as many dates. Okay? You might not be the most popular person, but you have 100% assurance that your body and your heart are protected. You know that that respect is there. There is no worry of what you might contract or what you might take into that next relationship. But I think you guys get kind of sold short and told like, well, the best you can do is to hopefully put on a condom. And I think that you can do better than that. If you're sexually active, there are ways to reduce that risk. Absolutely. 50% is better than no percent. But I want you to think, why would you not try to have the 100%, right? I don't ever regret a guy that I was not with. It's the guys that I was with. I'm like, why? Right? But I don't ever regret the ones I was not with, okay? So now we get into the heart and the brain part of it. Because as much as you can, cover your body in latex or whatever, you cannot actually, go ahead, put a condom on your heart. You can put that on Facebook. There is no condom for your heart. I tried to draw a picture. It looks weird, okay? My husband vetoed it as a shirt idea. I have not given up yet. Heart with a, yeah. But there's no condom for your heart, right? And so the reality is that while most of you will probably not get a sexually transmitted infection, and you probably will not get pregnant, I cannot guarantee, though, that you will not bond and form a connection with somebody who's not good for you, or that you'll connect with that person outside of commitment. See, our brains are wired in a crazy way. Okay, brain chemistry, super cool. And I'm not smart enough to be able to handle all of it, but I can handle bits of it. Oxytocin and vasopressin are two chemicals that our brains release. Gentlemen, you release both. Ladies, we only release oxytocin. And you'll see in a moment why, guys, you have two and we only have one. But the purpose of these chemicals is for you to form a bond and a connection to the people in your life, which is a good thing, yes? And we're not just talking sexual relationships, like your family, your friends. If you never bonded with them, would that be weird? I mean, then your family would just be a bunch of people that help pay the rent, right? Or your friends would just be people that you hang out with, but once you move on to the next season in life, it's over. You don't care. Have you ever seen families that they're not very friendly and it's kind of awkward? Yeah? Okay, because there's not this bonding happening on the same level. How it's released, 4 ways. So the first 2 are exclusive to women, obviously. Guys, are you able to go into labor and give birth?
Yes.
I would love to see that happen. Baby coming out of the end of a penis. No. Ow. Okay. All right? So ladies, that's exclusive to you. And second one is also exclusive to you, right? When you begin breastfeeding. Now, some of you are looking at this going, oh my goodness, my mom didn't breastfeed me. Or, I'm adopted, my mom didn't breastfeed me. Okay, your attachment issues, that's not this because of this, right? If you have them. You have them for other reasons. Some of you, you're just mean to your parents and that's your own fault. Stop it, right? No, just because your parents didn't breastfeed you doesn't mean it's going to affect your attachment, right? There are other ways. Notice number 3. So don't look at that and think, oh, I got shorted because I didn't get any boob time with mom. No, okay? You're still all right. Because the third one, meaningful and intimate touch. So if you think about how intense a bond is between a mom and her child, right? And you transfer that then to the third way, meaningful or intimate touching. Gentlemen, this is where you come in, right? Because since you don't get the first 2, you needed another chemical for you to bond specifically with your children and your spouse. Vasopressin. It's called the monogamy molecule a lot of times, guys. That is why it's great when you play with your kids someday. I hope you don't have kids yet, okay? When you are a father, play with your kids. You'll notice dads tend to be more hands-on with their children, yes? I mean, it's not usually mom that's down there wrestling. It's dad, okay? Because it's releasing this chemical. Now, you don't necessarily know that, but that's what's happening. That's why we hug people. That's why we sit close to people we care about. That's why if you didn't get breastfeeding, you're still bonded to your parents, yeah? Now, in the context of romantic relationships, what meaningful and intimate touch is anything from an extended hug of 20 seconds all the way up to, but not including, sexual intercourse. That's in its own category. So if you're having oral sex, if you're making out, if you're getting naked, if you're fingering, you're fondling, you're going to second, third base, you are releasing this chemical. You're releasing small amounts of it. And the purpose is to cause you to trust that person and to want more of them. So there's a reason, if you've ever been physical with someone in a relationship, the more physical you are, the harder it is to end that. The more you want them, even if you know it's not a good relationship for you. Sexual intercourse is in its own category because when you have sex, your brain gets flooded with 5 times the amount that it normally does. You literally burn a little neurological path into your brain to connect you to that person. And gentlemen, Normally, you walk around with lower levels of oxytocin than ladies. That's why we bond with everything. Like, friend! You don't know them. Doesn't matter. I want to, okay? We want to be friends with everybody. My husband's always like, you don't know them. Yes, I do. No, you don't. They just look famous. Stop it. Well, we could be friends, right? Because as a woman, like, I'm naturally inclined for relationships. Gentlemen, when you have sex, though, your level jumps to the same level as a woman's, which means sex is as emotional for you as it is for a woman. And you form just as strong of an attachment as a girl does. You just don't talk about it. And you're told it's no big deal, right? And you're told it doesn't matter. And you're told that for guys, sex is physical. But it's not, right? And what we have seen, and science is showing us, is that people who form repeated relationships that are physical, that are sexual, and then they break that up, and then they do it again, they break it up, do it again, break it up, you actually damage your brain's ability to form a long-term connection. How many of you want to get married someday? It's awesome. I've been married 1 year and 4 months and 2 days, and it's great, not that I'm counting. But it's fantastic. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, but it's a blast. But the thing is right now you are building habits to determine whether or not your marriage is going to be harder than it needs to be, right? Or whether or not you're building a foundation of trust and learning how to practice faithfulness. See, the way you do relationships now is going to play into that future relationship. I guarantee it. You guys are very good at, your school. I know what schools you go to. You go to very smart schools. And you're all about, you got to get your grades, right? So that you can finish sophomore year, to get to junior year, and graduate high school so that you can go to college. There is a plan, and you take steps, and you make sacrifices to get where you are going. You should absolutely apply that same diligence and thinking ahead to the relationship that you want in the future, right? Now, the amazing thing is that God has created our brains to repair themselves. So if at some point you form these bonds and you're going, I'm damaged goods. No, you're not. You're not. Because God will heal that. And God will take those pathways that have been burned into your brain and He will repair and restore that. But you do not repair by adding a few more on top. Right? Like, I'll get over her by adding 3 more. No. You have to give it space and time. Okay? So while there's absolutely physical and emotional risk, does not mean that it's the end for you if you've been sexually active. I mean, that is the amazing thing, is we serve a God of grace. We serve a God of forgiveness, a God who wants to restore you. And whether that is now or in a few years, you're in the middle of college, you wake up and realize, what have I done? It is never too late for that to happen. But you do have to make the choice, and you do have to make the necessary steps to say, you know what, this is what I want, so this is what I have to do right now to get there. Yeah? Okay, so we're going to actually end at that point because I want to give you some time with your groups. Any questions real quick before we do break you up? Great, your faces are very serious. You're going to get a survey in your small groups, and the survey is just for me to read because it just helps me gauge where things are at. A couple things. One, it's totally confidential. Do not put your name on it. All right? I don't share it. I don't take it to Mindy and go, whose handwriting is this? Figure it out. Right? Look at what they said. Right? So it's totally confidential. So please be as honest as possible. Leaders, make sure they fill it out on their own. It's not a group activity. And then on the back, you will notice there's a spot for you to put your email address down. I promise, if you write legibly, that I will email you. You do not have to write me back. You can hold on to that thing for a few years. If you have any questions, I know this is super awkward, and I'm about to go talk to your parents now. Aren't you excited? About this, but I know that there are some things that maybe you don't feel comfortable talking to your parents, and I'm happy to answer your questions just in the same way your leaders would be happy to answer your questions, right? So know that you can just put your email address down. It does not obligate you to anything. I'll just email you. You can have that sitting in your inbox. Okay, but I don't want you to have questions that you can't get answered. So whether it's your leader, it's Mindy, it's RO, or it's myself, please take advantage of that resource, okay? And if that's it, then thank you.
All right, thank you, Joanna.